Hello everyone! Welcome to my channel. I'm Polaris. It's nice to meet you if you are new here, and it's great to see you again if you're back. Okay, so this is my second speaking video. I'm still learning, so please be nice. And again, excuse the weird accent and expressions. I'm not native English in here. Also, do forgive some background noises. There's a construction site right in front of my house right now. So, I've been working on this illustration based on Majesty by Ghost, and I just finished the Lineart and guessed I could talk a little bit on this video and then a little bit more on the coloring video, which is yet to come. I know this video is long, but I felt like speeding up more would miss some details on the Lineart, and that might not be good for the people who are still learning and want to see something of how Lineart is done and all that. I work on a software called Krita. Back when I downloaded it, it was free and it's a good alternative for more expensive softwares. I really like its brushes and how it works with the paint pressure from the tablet. For me, it works better than Photoshop, and I spent almost an entire year drawing on Photoshop, only to conclude I work a lot better with Krita, and my Lineart is definitely infinitely better on Krita than on Photoshop. So if you're struggling too much with Lineart, try a couple different softwares. There are plenty of free ones that might allow you to see if it is a software difficulty or an actual Lineart difficulty. For the ghost illustrations, I'm using an ink brush that has a lot of texture because it's a personal preference of mine. I think it looks better than just a hard brush. It's important to know though, when I work on Photoshop, my Lineart is only with a hard brush. On Krita, I use this textured ink brush or a really soft textured one that looks like a graphite traditional pencil, which is the one I use to draw my webtoon. Since I'm working on the face, let's talk a little bit about that. I have developed a more semi-realistic style, so I try my best to draw a person's likeness without stylizing too much. I feel more comfortable drawing like this actually. On faces, I can say what helped me a lot was literally filling pages and pages and pages of my sketchbook with drawings of different people. I took lots of portrait photos on Pinterest and spent weeks drawing lots of them. Different ethnicities, different proportions, different angles, different ages. The more you draw, the more you get used to how the human face works. I also filled pages with eyes, studied how the mouth works, how the head works when tilted, the basic shapes of the head and how to put them all together and all the basic proportions. On this video, when I'm drawing the eyes, you can see I struggle a bit with their proportions, so I start checking a few basic things, which are: the inner corner of the eye will always line up with the outer corner of the nose. The eye pupil will always line with the outer corner of the mouth. The inner corner of the eyebrow will always line with the inner corner of the nose. And that one I actually learned from doing my own eyebrows at home. Makeup 101 does help a lot. And etc. I do suggest learning those basic proportions because it can always come in handy when you are drawing like that. About drawing someone's likeness on a semi-realistic or even realistic style, I might do an in-depth video on that if you guys like it, so let me know in the comments. But basically, you have to see the person's facing shapes, so you can keep those shapes and then you have them in your drawing. In this case with terzo, and hey, my family's Italian, so the Italian pronunciation here is a lot better than English. His most jarring feature is his large square jaw, so we gotta keep that on the drawing. His lips are also quite large, more so his lower lip, and his eyes are more on a diamond shape. On his makeup though, his eyebrows are very low, almost as if he's always angry. His chin is very large as well, and he has a very pronounced dip. Those are the features I think I have to add to have his likeness, or else it isn't going to look like him. Oh, and another thing not to forget on Terzo, his lines at the side of his face. It's more of a detail, but it's a strong feature that has to be added in my opinion. When it comes to coloring the black parts of his makeup, we get back to the paintbrusher thing I said I really like about Krita. It feels a lot like drawing with a traditional pencil, so it's a lot easier for me. I tried to go all strong black around his eyes, but I felt he looked like a raccoon, so I painted with less pressure when near his eyes, giving this almost wet look impression you would have with real makeup around the eyes. Personally, I think it looks better for my style. Now, this drawing has 1,001 little details, so I'll talk a little bit how I got to this composition and how I sketched all of this. Towards the end of the video, I'll start checking on the sketch layers, and I think there are around 8 different sketch layers for this drawing. It's not like I just sketched this in one go and woohoo, let's go! It took me quite a while. So, I had this idea for the Majesty song, an illustration like a royal portrait, those traditional ones. I'm also a big tarot card fan, so instead of having him standing like in most royal portraits, I wanted to go with something similar to court cards in tarot, like King of Cups or King of Swords and etc. So I used those court cards as references then. But Terzo is a diva, so I wanted to have a more regal, refined and proud pose. I took some reference pics from when he used to sit on amps during rituals and make his sermons to understand his mannerisms. And then, finally, I found another reference of a woman sitting on a chair quite wantonly, and I said, yes, that is exactly what I was missing, and used that as a reference as well. Mostly for the upper body, because the perspective I decided to use was kinda tricky. You see, we artists make decisions with our drawings, and those decisions might look awesome and visually striking, but that doesn't indicate we have an easy time making them come true. That's why it took me around 2 or 3 sketches only to get his sitting pose right. The composition per se came together quite naturally, seeing I use tarot court cards as references, and there isn't much going on with a royal sitting character. I could go crazy with it, yes, but I didn't want to, and that's when shape language comes into play. I wanted more of an imposing sort of thing, like a royal portrait you would admire but also fear a little bit, with royalty looking down on you. When it comes to shapes, things like squares and rectangles give an idea of a steadier, stronger, fixed and structured thing, while shapes with points like triangles and diamonds are sharper and give an edge of danger, sharpness and dynamism. Dynamism? Is that even a word? For my tarot fans out there, squares are earth and pentacles, while triangles are air and swords. So the throne then is very much a rectangle with lots and lots of square shapes, giving more of those imposing vibes. I also use as a reference an actual pope chair, given that yes, Terzo is royalty, but unholy royalty, if that makes any sense. The religious imagery is essential here. For his clothes, I took many actual royal portraits as references, with kings from many countries like France, England, Austria, etc., to see what would usually be a thing. The only thing I knew I wanted was a dramatic cape, because hey, what can I say, drama fits him. You can see throughout the drawing though that I kept all the shapes very sharp, going with the shape language to add an edge of dangerousness to him. So everything is pointy, and not because he is herald of hell, but because in shape language that actually makes him look dangerous, even if subconsciously. That does not mean I can't use round shapes once in a while. I do. You can see it in his staff, for instance, even if it's a broken circle, like I always like to do with ghost stuff. There are other circles on the crosses throughout the drawing, and their repeating shape is actually another composition choice. When you repeat shapes, they don't look out of place, even if it's a not so common shape on the drawing, like the circles in this one, for instance. Now, regarding line work per se, I try to keep the outside lines stronger than the inside lines, meaning everything that is the silhouette of the drawing, I try to make it darker, while all the things that are inside of the silhouette, I try to keep a little lighter or a lot lighter. That comes with practice, I'm afraid, so take your drawings and line art them. That's the only way you will learn. One study I did that helped me a lot though was to take 3 artists I admire and try to literally copy the way they do line art. I made an original sketch of Yennefer from The Witcher and chose 3 artists that I would like to understand more of their style. Then I saved a bunch of their work to carefully look at it, with lots of zoom and careful consideration to understand how their lines work. Forget colors, it was only about the lines. When studying lines, you look at things like what's the brush they use. Is it a soft brush, a hard brush, a brush with texture, a plain brush? What colors they used? Do they line with black, or do they use other colors to make it blend better with the drawing? How thick are the lines? Are the lines thicker in some places and thinner in others? Where are the lines thicker? Where are they thinner? Do they use lines to indicate hard shadows? Do they use lines only to outline shapes? Do they use hatching and cross-hatching techniques? How would they use their hand pressure to make those lines happen? Are they continuous lines or are they choppy? Do they close the lines on the edges of the character like elbows, or do the lines never meet? It might look like just a quick drawing, but those are all choices we make, consciously or not. After studying all of that from the artists I chose, I note down the main things I observed from their lines and the brushes I thought they used, and started trying to copy the same way they did their lines on my Yennefer drawing. I ended up with 3 different Yennefers, all because of the lines that were very different from one another. I managed to realize what works for me and what doesn't, even if I like it very much, and that's how I ended up with the style you are watching in this video. Also, in this illustration, I'm starting to try my hand at hatching and cross-hatching. I'm still not good at it, but I want to start somewhere, so I am adding some of it here and there. If someone has tips on that, feel free to leave in the comments, it's always appreciated. So that's a nice study for you to make if you're struggling with line art. Make a sketch of something you want to draw, study around 3 other artists you admire, and try to replicate their line work. If you are going to post, give those artists a shout out and make sure to say that you try to literally copy them as a study. Don't claim it as completely your own, because it is at the end of the day a study. Another thing I know a lot of people joke about, me included, but it's a quality of life thing. Organize your layers. I don't know if you can actually see it in the video, but all of my layers are named, grouped and organized, because that makes your life so much easier when you have to find something. I can't stress this enough. And I'm saying that as the queen of I can find myself in my own mess, but it's something I'm glad I conditioned myself to do. In this one, I have lots of layers for terzo and 2 layers for the throne. On terzo, I decided to keep different layers for his face, hair, neck and all the details, cape, upper body, lower body, hands and staff. I should also note that his upper body, lower body, cape and staff have 2 or 3 layers inside of a group, one being the line art, the other being the details, such as embroidery on clothes, and the halo on the staff. I also have a different layer for his halo around his head. With the throne, I have one layer for the base and another layer for all the details. Also, I should note that for some things I draw only one side copy and then mirror to make it symmetrical and equal. You can see that I do that while I work on the throne. On Photoshop, there's a tool you can toggle on and off that allows you to draw on one side and it will immediately copy on the other side as a perfect symmetry. I don't think there's a tool like that in Krita, but I personally can work just fine doing what you're seeing here. I learned to draw on traditional media, so I always thought doing things like this was cheating. It isn't, and you're fine doing that, as long as you're not tracing anything. And note that if you're tracing your very own work that came solely from your head and you didn't copy anyone, tracing is kinda fine. I would also like to add on the tracing thing. It's okay to trace for studying, just don't post it anywhere and claim it as yours. I traced lots and lots of portrait photos when studying digital art and traced lots and lots of photos from people doing all kinds of poses before I had some confidence to draw just from observation instead of using the tracing as a sort of a crutch. Going from traditional to digital is very difficult because it's a whole new world, so don't worry if you're struggling with it. I might make a video with like a sketchbook tour of sorts and all the digital studies I did to show you guys a little bit what I'm talking about. Again, I didn't post any of this because at the end of the day it's just a bunch of studies and nothing I actually created. But I think it would be nice to share. Sketchbooks are meant to look ugly as hell, not pretty and organized as a lot of people seem to think, and I was one of those people too. I'm dissing myself here. I think that's all I had to talk about on this one. Next one, I'll be telling you guys about my struggles with choosing colors because I am an actual black hole with coloring. Seriously, I'm horrible when it comes to choosing colors. It takes me more time to do that than to come up with the drawing itself. All this line art took me around 4 to 5 hours. Now choosing colors might take me around 2 weeks. Thank you very much. I'm going on a little tangent here, but I actually learned to draw with my mom and I kept training ever since. We have a couple of her paintings here at home and she's been painting one ever since I was 8 years old. I was born in 1994 for reference, which we kindly nicknamed this painting as the Portrait of Dorian Gray, because she keeps it covered with an old bedsheet in the laundry room, forever waiting to be finished. I'm adding all of this to say my mom has an innate color thing, that she got it from the gods. I'm not joking. Sometimes I leave graphite drawings on my desks, like simple things with only what we would call line art digitally, and when I come back it's all full with wonderful colors because she couldn't resist testing my color pencil case. I've been collecting color pencils, those really expensive ones, I buy one at a time, since high school, and she loves to test them. Lo and behold, she creates awesome works of art just on a little whim. That's why whenever I'm stuck with colors, I go to her like, hey, so I got this drawing from Satanic Pope Band, but the colors aren't working, help. And she's immediately like, okay, it's too dark, try a lighter shade of this and that and it should work. And guess what? It works. I do use color theory and all that. I think about all those things a lot, My mom never studied them, and I bet she could color my drawings in a couple of hours a lot better than me with half the effort. On D&D terms, she's a sorcerer while I'm a wizard. Gotta love people born from the muses themselves. She's still scared of all the papas though. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have learned something, or at least you had a nice time with some random art talks and stories from my side. I'll be back with the coloring video from this illustration and the usual quick draw with me videos from my webtoon. Hope you have a nice week and hope to see you again soon.